Hello dear World of Warcraft friends, welcome back to a new video on my channel. Today it's going to be a little chat topic which I want to discuss with you, and let me say right away, this is completely subjective. And I also want to say this has nothing to do with the quality of patch 12.1. Yeah, so I haven't played the patch nearly enough yet to be able to judge it. This topic has generally been on my mind over the past few weeks and months, and I've thought about it several times already. There doesn't have to be any doubt. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. I want to say that as well. But personally, I think the major patches of World of Warcraft could really use a refresh. Why? Why is that? They always follow the same old pattern and by now it's gotten a bit stale. That's just my personal opinion. Like I said, it has nothing to do with the quality of 12.1. I would probably just like to see a bit more variety in general. Feel free to write in the comments how you see the whole thing, whether it bothers you or not. And with that, I would say let's just get started right away. If you like my videos, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe. We are well on our way to 38,000 subscribers. Then it's not much further until we reach 40,000. That would be so insanely awesome, and yeah, let's go. And I'll say it again, because there are definitely a few people in there who will once again just see it as me trying to badmouth the game or something like that. That has relatively little to do with it. I think World of Warcraft Midnight is better than the War Within, better than Dragonflight. I like the expansion quite a lot. I like it quite a lot, guys. I really like it and had quite a lot of fun in the first season. Nevertheless, that doesn't change anything for me. That currently the patches really always follow the same pattern and hardly have any surprises to offer anymore. And I would even say by now that the small patches, the 0.5 ones, 0.0 and the 0.0 patches are sometimes more exciting than the big patches themselves. We remember, for example, with the next small patch with patch 12.1.5, the Labyrinth. So a completely new game mode that hasn't existed in the game before. Or simply put, delves on a much bigger scale. It just comes in with a mini patch. Recently we've even had some mini patches that brought us new zones. That brought us new small areas. I remember Dragonflight very fondly, for example. Even though that wasn't my favorite content, we just got a Forbidden Reach here with a mini patch. And along with that, we also got the Zscara vaults. That was actually pretty cool. So, in terms of patch cadence, meaning how often patches come out, when it comes to the scope of the patches and so on, personally, I am much more satisfied than before. We no longer wait 7 months for new content, and sometimes it really feels nice. So, in that regard, I'm very happy. But I can already tell you what patch 12.2 will look like. I can tell you what patch 13.1 will look like, and I can tell you what patch 15.1 will look like if Blizzard doesn't change its formula. And that's the big problem for me. Usually, that's because World of Warcraft has become a seasonal game by now. That means the content is really only relevant for 6 months. Because after that, nobody cares about the gear anymore. Then people want new dungeons, a new season, new gear. And then the whole cycle starts all over again, and as of now, that's always how it goes. A patch gets announced, and first we always get a new zone. For example, the Twisted Eye. For example, the island. In World of Warcraft War Within Karish, or Lorenhall, or in Dragonflight Saralek Cavern, or the Emerald Dream. I think you know what I'm getting at. There's always a zone that is about as big as one of the regions, which we know from the starting patches of the expansion, sometimes a bit smaller. And that's where we get sent. And in the end, everything we've seen before just repeats itself. We get a new campaign, which usually, like all the original campaigns before, includes 5 or 6 chapters. And then for me, one of the worst things, world events. By now, it's just fucking the same thing over and over again. Whether you're talking about the laden attacks, those curse forges, or whatever they're called, whether we're here, like in Kadesh. Although it was actually a bit different there, but it always follows the same pattern. You have a new area, something pops up in area A. There you either have to fill up a bar or kill mobs. Then you kill a boss again, and then the event is over. See Dream Surges in Dragonflight or those time lifts. Or. So it always follows the same pattern, and by now, I don't know, I used to find world events pretty exciting. And in my opinion, they were best in Dragonflight. Because there was some variety there. It wasn't just the same old routine. You just beat up something. Instead, on the coast, we captured the fortress here. In the Onaren Plains, we went hunting. And the coolest thing I actually thought was cooking soup here in Iskara. Call me stupid or whatever, but I thought it was funny. So it was a world event. It gave exactly the same rewards. I mean, in terms of quality. But it was something completely different. And it was kind of funny. Since then, Blizzard has completely lost the nerve to try new things. And now we just have to keep killing mobs until we're sick of it, until we're finally done. Like I said, Assault of the Maw and everything that goes with it, it's always the same. Meanwhile, I'd like to point out that these companions here in the dungeon are complete idiots. And they can't manage to take down the mobs at the same time. Of course, that's because World of Warcraft is a seasonal game. And what comes back with every patch? Yup, that's right, a new season. That means, besides the usual new zone, the usual campaign, and the usual new world event, which will be expanded with a few more things, we're getting a new Mythic Plus season, a new raid, and the new PvP season. Because there are no more seasonal affixes, I think the seasons also feel very, very similar. So, for example, in Shadowlands, there was a different affix with each season. Or with Dragonflight, at least at the beginning, I think it was the same. Yeah, I don't know. You did have different dungeons, but apart from that, it also felt different. Simply because you had to do different things each time. And also here, I actually quite like the current affix system, but personally I liked it even better back when we had seasonal affixes. Otherwise now we just keep getting new dungeons presented to us. Yeah, and usually 4 of them are always old ones. With the small patches they always throw in a new dungeon. Probably in patch 12.2 or so, we'll probably get the obligatory mega dungeon, which we've gotten very often in past expansions as well. At least in War Within, Dragonflight, there was Tazavesh, and so on. In Shadowlands, there was Tazavesh. In Dragonflight, there was that one, right? You know, that dungeon with the 8 bosses in it. So even there, everything just repeats itself every time. And yeah. Then, when we are being really, really extravagant, sometimes they throw in another borrowed power item. And that's the complete recipe for a big patch. New zone, new world event, new questline obviously, new Mythic Plus season with old and new dungeons, a new raid, always with 8 bosses, because if you did things differently, it wouldn't fit the pattern. New PvP season, 3 new mounts. The remaining 29 are almost all recolors. And tada! That's your patch. And accordingly, so no idea, there's speculation now that in the final patch of World of Warcraft Midnight, will travel to the core of Azeroth. Yeah. Then we'll most likely have a new area somewhere in Azeroth's core. Then there will be some kind of new event there, maybe related to Azerite or something like that. There will be a raid with 8 bosses. There will be a dungeon that fits the theme. They'll recycle old dungeons that could also fit thematically into the season. And that will be the patch. So by now, it's just completely predictable. And personally, I just find that kind of a shame. I also realized that there's only a certain number of things you can do in a patch. Yeah. I mean, we're in an MMO here. And they can't just suddenly start, I don't know, releasing a soccer game or something. I'm definitely aware of that too. But the times when I was really hyped for a patch, those are kind of over, because I know exactly it's basically the same as with patch 11.1, with 11.2, with 10.1, with 10.2, and so on and so forth. I don't know if it's just me, but I find this formula pretty worn out by now. And personally, I actually look forward more to the small patches in World of Warcraft these days, because Blizzard tries something new there. Take the labyrinths in patch 12.1.5, for example. Take those Word of Scare events they introduced, for example. Look. No idea, Omnium tomes or something like that. They're not really fun features in themselves or ones that will keep you glued to the screen for days. But they're things that are more or different than just here's a new zone with new campaigns. In that regard, I actually thought Lauren Hall was pretty cool. Because it actually felt a bit fresher with those vehicles, with the car you could drive around and so on. That was kind of funny too. And still, so on paper it was different, but in practice it was still almost exactly the same. I hope you know what I'm getting at. Like I said, I don't mean this in a bad way or anything like that. The game is still a lot of fun. At least most of the time. But that excitement of finally a new patch is coming, I don't really get that feeling anymore, because everything just feels way too similar. And you get the sense, hey, I've seen all of this somewhere before. Or to be more precise, in the last 3 years, I've seen this exact pattern 6 times already. So feel free to write in the comments what you think about all this. Does it annoy you? Or do you not care at all? I'm curious to hear what you have to say. With that, see you in the next video. Have a good time and take care.